Picture this. A moon torn apart. Its once lush surface now a jagged, lifeless sprawl stretching endlessly beneath a sky choked with smoke and ash. Zylar 7, nestled in the vast Andromeda galaxy, was no longer the thriving oasis it had been. Relentless wars had scarred it beyond recognition, leaving behind craters like gaping wounds and a constant hum of destruction that vibrated through the air. Explosions echoed in the distance, mingling with the sharp whine of energy weapons, an unrelenting soundtrack to a galaxy gripped by chaos. The stars, those distant beacons of hope, were swallowed by the haze, leaving only darkness and the bitter sting of conflict. Amid this madness darted Zylar, a tiny figure against the towering wreckage, his emerald green skin glinting faintly under the dim, flickering light. Barely 3 feet tall, this fierce warrior of the Xeric species moved with a grace that defied his small frame. His iridescent scales shimmered even in the gloom, catching fleeting glints like a jewel in the dirt. Sharp violet eyes flicked across the battlefield, scanning every shadow, while his pointed ears twitched at the faintest sound. A predator honed by survival. Zylar wasn't just any soldier. He was part of the United Galactic Alliance, a ragtag coalition of species banded together to stand against the Draconian Empire. Those reptilian tyrants, with their brute strength and terrifying tech, were hell-bent on crushing the galaxy under their scaly heels. And right now on this battered moon, the fight was reaching a breaking point. Zylar's mission was clear. Plant disruptor charges to cripple the Draconian's communication network. He darted between craters, his nimble fingers setting the devices with precision, each one a small rebellion against the enemy's iron grip. But as he worked, the truth hit hard. The Alliance was losing ground. The Draconian's sheer numbers and firepower were overwhelming, forcing Zylar's comrades back step by brutal step. Sweat beaded on his scaled brow, his breath ragged, when suddenly the ground beneath him erupted. A deafening blast hurled him into a crater, his body slamming against a jagged rock. Pain seared through him, his vision swimming as he clawed at the dirt, trying to rise. His communicator crackled uselessly, damaged beyond repair. No way to call for help. He was alone. Through the haze, he saw his team retreating, their silhouettes shrinking under the Draconian onslaught. They couldn't stop for him. Survival demanded they leave him behind. Zylar's heart sank, a heavy ache mingling with the fire in his side, where a Draconian weapon had grazed him. The world blurred, darkness creeping in at the edges. The sounds of war faded to a dull roar, and for a fleeting moment, he thought this was it. His fight was over. He'd given everything, but it hadn't been enough. His eyelids fluttered, his strength slipping away like sand through his fingers. Then, a shadow fell over him. Zylar tensed, expecting the cold mercy of a Draconian blade. Instead, unfamiliar voices broke through the fog, soft, urgent, speaking in a tongue he didn't know. Forcing his eyes open, he glimpsed faces hovering above him, human faces etched with worry. A woman knelt beside him, her dark eyes fierce yet kind. Captain Elena Rodriguez, leader of this unexpected rescue, spoke into a small device, and suddenly her words shifted into the melodic tones of Xeric language. "You're going to be okay. We're here to help." Zylar, too weak to argue, could only watch as they moved with purpose. A man, Dr. Samuel Hayes, their medic, worked fast, his hands steady as he patched Zylar's wounds with tools that hummed and glowed. These humans, part of the Alliance too, weren't abandoning him. Against orders, Elena made the call to pull him out, her team hauling him through the chaos to their ship as the moon trembled beneath them. The last thing Zylar saw as they lifted off was Zylar 7 shrinking below, a desolate graveyard he'd nearly joined. Inside the UGS Star Cruiser Valiant, everything changed. The ship's clean, bright corridors buzzed with quiet efficiency, a stark contrast to the hell he'd escaped. In the infirmary, surrounded by strange machines and the sharp scent of antiseptics, Zylar felt his body ease for the first time in days. Elena stood nearby, her presence steady, while Dr. Hayes tended him with a focus that spoke louder than words. "How's he doing, Sam?" Elena asked, her voice tight with concern. Hayes adjusted the device, bathing Zylar's wounds in soft blue light. "Stable for now. His physiology is unique, tougher than anything I've seen. He'll pull through, but he needs rest." Zylar stirred, his violet eyes blinking open. Pain lingered, but he was alive. Elena picked up the translator, her tone gentle. "Zylar, can you understand me?" He nodded weakly, his voice rasping through the device. "Yes. Thank you for saving me." Her smile was warm, disarming. "We couldn't leave you there. You're safe now. We're the Alliance, just like you. Humans." He'd heard tales of their courage, but this? Risking their lives for a stranger like him? "Why?" he asked, bewildered. Elena met his gaze. "Because no one gets left behind. That's what we fight for." Days bled into weeks aboard the Valiant. Zylar's strength returned slowly, fueled by the humans' care in their strange, fascinating world. They visited him often, sharing stories of Earth, its sprawling cities, wild oceans, and messy, vibrant history. In return, he told them of Zarth Prime, his lost home, a planet of shimmering jungles and towering cities woven into nature itself, now scarred by draconian greed. Elena lingered the longest, her curiosity sparked by his tales. "You're looking better," she said one day, finding him pacing the infirmary. "Thanks to you," he replied, his scales catching the light. "I owe you my life." She waved it off. "We're allies. That's what matters." But it was more than that. Zylar saw in their actions, the way they fought not just for survival, but for each other. One night, the crew gathered in the mess hall, laughter bouncing off the walls. Lieutenant Mark Evans, a broad-shouldered man with a booming laugh, slid a plate of spaghetti toward Zylar. "Try this, an Earth classic." Zylar twirled the noodles awkwardly, earning chuckles as he took a bite. His eyes lit up. "This is incredible." The table roared, and for a moment, the war faded. He was just a guy sharing a meal with friends. On the observation deck later, Elena joined him, the stars sprawling endlessly beyond the viewport. "Beautiful, isn't it?" she murmured. "We forget to look up sometimes." Zylar nodded. "My people see the stars as guides. They remind us we're never alone." She turned to him, thoughtful. "Zylar, when you're ready, we could use your help. You know the Draconians better than anyone." His resolve hardened. "I'd be honored. They've taken too much. Together, we can stop them." Training began soon after. Zylar taught them Zarek moves. Quick, precise strikes that dance around brute force. In return, they showed him their weapons, their tactics, their relentless ingenuity. Lieutenant Evans grinned during a sparring session. "You're a natural, Zylar, fast as lightning." The bond grew, a bridge between species forged in sweat and trust. Then came the news. A Draconian outpost, a linchpin in their war machine. Elena laid it out in the briefing room, the hologram glowing above the table. "If we take it down, we shift the tide. Zylar, your knowledge is our edge." He studied the map, pointing out flaws in their defenses. "It's fortified, but not invincible. I can get us in." The plan took shape late into the night, a fusion of human tech and Zarek cunning. Risky, yes, but the stakes were too high to back down. On the eve of the mission, Zylar stood at the viewport again, Elena beside him. "Tomorrow's it," she said. "I'm glad you're with us." He met her gaze. "And I'm grateful for you. Together we'll win." At the core, they planted the final charges, the countdown ticking as reinforcements closed in. The retreat was chaos, a gauntlet of fire and fury. Then a Draconian commander loomed, massive, roaring, its energy may-swinging. Zylar and Elena locked eyes, a wordless pact. Together, they faced it. He dodged, striking fast. She hit with deadly aim. With one last push, the beast fell, and they ran. The explosion tore through the outpost as the Valiant pulled them skyward, the stronghold collapsing in their wake. Cheers erupted aboard the ship. They'd done it. A blow the Draconians wouldn't soon recover from. Elena clapped Zylar's shoulder. "You were incredible." He smiled. "We're a team." Word spread across the Alliance. Their victory a spark of hope. Zylar addressed the council, his voice steady. "We're stronger together. The Draconians divide, we unite. That's our power." The galaxy listened, and the tide began to turn. Back on the Valiant, Zylar stood with his friends, the stars stretching out before them. The war wasn't over, but with this crew, his family, he knew they could face anything. Hope burned bright. A light no darkness could snuff out.